Hello once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Irv Homer Show. It is Wednesday, October the 22nd, 2008. We broadcast from the Philadelphia area in the secret enclave of the Irv Homer. Where do I broadcast from? We're broadcasting from irvhomer.com is what we're doing. We want to thank you folks for tuning in, for letting folks know that the Irv Homer Show is alive and well. And just to give you an indication as to some of the email that has come in since we've started. That's just a portion of the email. So the email response has been overwhelming. Once again, let me repeat that this program is not like other programs. These are my comments. They're not from the Republican National Committee. They're not from the Democrat National Committee. They're ideas and opinions that I've developed over the years that I find to be successful for me and for other folks, and changes in the way we govern each other and respond to one another and question constantly the future of this great country. Even though some folks may think that some of us hate America, we really don't. We fought for America, some of us haven't. A lot of folks who have never worn the uniform or had the pleasure of being involved in killing other people sometimes voice an opinion that is really empty and shallow. That being said, I want to reiterate that the program is for me, not for you. I know it may sound selfish, but I am so tired of doing programming over my broadcast career to satisfy sponsors, to satisfy program directors, to satisfy station owners, to satisfy station managers and sales managers, that I've decided to do this thing for myself. I answer to no one. I'm responsible to no one. I have no allegiances, no agenda, no commitment to anyone other than myself. And above all, I do not ask you to follow anything that I say. I am not your leader. In a free country, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need leaders, you need teachers. That's what I love about the Jewish religion. Sometimes our rabbis forget that they are teachers and not leaders. And sometimes congregations forget that they are not pawns in a game, but they are students of education, of learning. They're learning what the faith is about. I don't need a leader. My dog needs a leader so he doesn't poop on somebody else's lawn. I need a teacher to teach me not to poop on my neighbor's lawn. And so many folks say, well, Irv, I want information. I don't give out financial information. I don't recommend doctors, lawyers, automobile dealers. I don't recommend funeral directors. I don't recommend moving people. What I do is say they have worked for me, and the rest is up to you. But I do not recommend these things. I may ask you your opinion of a certain dealer, a certain service, or a certain goods that you buy, but I don't want you to endorse it. And don't ask me to endorse something because I'm not going to do it. I will tell you truthfully that I've had success with things that I've done in my career, both in broadcasting, personal relationships, family, money, and it works for me. I don't tell you to do it for yourself. And I have to make that constantly clear over and over again because many folks send me emails to lead them and to direct them. I tell them what worked for me. That doesn't mean that I'm telling you to do the same thing. What works for me may not work for you. I may do business with a particular doctor and I find him very gracious and very well and very competent. You may not like him. So that's the basis of this program. And I think every once in a while I should make it clear to the general public, those of you who are kind enough to tune in and to send email and tell other folks about it, that that's the reason I do this type of program. I don't consider it a program. I just consider this is me. Take it or leave it. I do know one thing, that I do a program maybe on Wednesday, Friday. Well, I do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then I will tune around the radio dials and I'll find the exact program being done by other talk show hosts in the entire country of things that I spoke about the night before. Or I'll read things in a newspaper. And I don't particularly care to get credit for anything that I do on the air, but I do have a self-satisfaction in knowing that imitation is the greatest form of flattery. And I know for you guys and gals out there in this business who either listen to the program live at 6 o'clock or you go to my archives and you listen to it and you pick up bits and pieces and snippets and you use it, I know about it. So use whatever you want to. It's free. If it makes it a better country, if it gives you better ratings, fine. I have no problem with it whatsoever. But you know, for those of you who are news media junkies as I am, and follow the talk formats throughout the country, and even some of the print media, you'll find out that what I'm saying is true. Of course, tonight, the whole country will be put on hold for terrorism, for politics, because tonight is the first game of the World Series in baseball. The Phillies versus the Tampa Bay Rays, and the odds makers are betting and program after program on who's going to win and what's going to be, and he's going to pitch and he's going to do. That's good stuff for America. That's what makes America great. Paying $4,500 for a ticket to see a baseball game. Now you know that's America. But don't feel bad because they do the same thing in other countries. Spain, the tickets for soccer games is outrageous. Italy, it's outrageous. Soccer in Britain is outrageous. So we're not the only nutcases in the world when it comes to our sports. Money is spent all over the world, even with a so-called economic recession. There are people all over the world spending outrageous prices to watch grown men play ball, to play little games, little children's games. But for those of you who can afford to pay $6,000, $7,000 to watch it, go do it. I wish you well. I find better value for my money to do something else. But baseball, you have to admit, folks, is the most boring damn game that I've ever had the pleasure to watch. It is boring. Boring, boring. Boring, boring. It is boring. The same as horse racing. Horse racing, to spend a day at a racetrack, is boring. But people love to be bored. And so enjoy the World Series. Is it going to be 4 out of 7, 5 out of 7, 6 out of 7, who knows what? And the boys in Las Vegas are betting one thing, and the boys in South Philly are betting something else. And the money's flowing like mad. And the off-track betting is going like crazy, and people are going to... It's diversion is what it is. It's what diversion is. Let's get down to some serious issues. I hope that you've understood my position in doing this thing. I get a lot of positive feedback. I get negative feedback once in a while. I did get some criticism on some statements that I made that I'll get into, maybe not tonight, but it involves, well, the one thing I will get involved in tonight, and let me start off with that. A dear viewer and a listener took me to task because I maintain that one of the presidential candidates, John McCain, the Republican candidate for President of the United States, in my opinion, is not a hero. I repeat that John McCain is not what I consider to be a hero. For those of you who may remember World War II, one of the people that were considered to be here was a man by the name of Colin Kelly. Colin Kelly was a young man, I believe, from Delaware County, who, when he realized his plane was shot down, that he dove his aircraft with him in it into a Japanese carrier and killed himself and blew up the carrier. Now, nothing in the code of flying that I know of, and I've done about 900 combat hours altogether in my career, in the military. There's nothing in the military code as far as flying instructions that ask you to take your plane and crash it into an aircraft carrier, a cruiser, a battleship, a building. Doesn't do that. We have believe it or not, our Army is one of the most humane Army, Navy, and Marine Corps in the world. Well, Colin Kelly, in my opinion, was a hero, as many other heroes. I have a dear neighbor who served in World War II, who has received the Silver Star, the Congressional Medal, and the Medal of Valor. And spoke to him in length a couple of months ago. He did things that were far and above what he took an oath to do when he went into the infantry of the United States during World War II. And that is a hero, in my opinion. Even John Kerry, ladies and gentlemen, and you've heard a lot of criticism of John Kerry, who received the Silver Star. And many of those folks, whether you voted for John Kerry or not, is immaterial, but you don't get the Silver Star because you're politically connected. So Kerry must have done something that someone in the upper command recognized was above and beyond the call of duty to receive that Silver Star. And with all demeanor to presidential candidate John McCain, he didn't do anything heroic. He got captured. And he served 6 years as a prisoner of war. And as I said, having quite a bit of combat flying time, I didn't see anything heroic about it. Now there is a visible difficulty that white presidential candidate John McCain has in raising his arms. That did not happen by the North Vietnamese. That happened when his plane exploded on the carrier. Is John McCain a brave man for being able to sustain 6 years as a prisoner of war? Yes, I would say so. Maintaining your sanity as a prisoner of anything, whether you're in one of our prisons or not, you've got to be pretty brave to do. But in examining John McCain's military record, he doesn't fit the criteria of being a hero from men that I've spoken to. I was with a friend of mine today, had breakfast together, who was in the infantry and spent 2 years in the hospital recovering from the injuries that he received prior to the Battle of the Bulge in the infantry, 2 years in the hospital. And related a story to me that he belongs to a group of members of the unit that he was in, and there's only about 30 out of 300 that are still alive. One of the gentlemen that he had been friendly with for some 50 years finally revealed to his son that he was a POW during World War II. Never spoke about it. And most prisoners of war, ladies and gentlemen, very seldom mention the fact that they were POWs. He didn't consider himself to be a hero. But to carry the badge of honor for those men who were POWs and glorifying John McCain because he was a POW is paying a disservice to the other men who were POWs and to those who were truly heroes. John McCain and others like myself were paid to do a particular job. We were paid to go out, search the enemy, and kill them. Not to wound them, to kill them. We weren't supposed to get shot down. We weren't supposed to be captured, we weren't supposed to be prisoners of war. Our job was to kill them. And when you fly, I don't know what the instructions are for ground troops, and I hope I'm not boring you, but we are given, depending upon the theater of operations that you're flying over, in which past history of these countries in wartime, some of the practices that they conducted during wars, we were instructed as to what could happen to us had we been picked up by the Italians, if we were shot down, Austrians, the Hungarians, and the Germans, and what could have happened to us, and how to act. And the only thing you're supposed to reveal to your captors is your name, rank, and serial number. Your name being whatever it is. Everyone has an army or a military serial number. And your rank. Now, if you lie about any of those three things, according to the book I still have from 1942, you can be shot as a spy. You lie about your name, you lie about your rank, you lie about your serial number, you can be shot as a spy. There is also instructions on escape and evasion. How to evade being captured if you are shot down. How to blend in with the civilian population. What type of clothes to wear. How not to button your coat. How to hold a cigarette if you smoke. The culture and lifestyle of the country that you may bail out over has specific cultures. Europeans do not take the cigarette out of their mouth. Europeans will hold their fingers and hold the cigarette, as with cigars, as with pipes. Americans tend to take the cigarette out of their mouth. There are many little things. Europeans wear their suit coats buttoned all the way down. They don't do the one button or two button. They button their suits all the way down. Italians walk a certain way with their wives. Austrians walk a certain way with their wives or with a woman on the street. They act different in restaurants. And all of this is in your book. So you're pretty well instructed on how to blend in with the society and how to blend in to the culture of the country. You're also taught how to survive in a prisoner of war camp. Little things you can do in your mind to keep from going crazy. Games you can play. Things to think about. Things not to think about. How to endure pain. The difference between pain, natural pain, and pain that's been inflicted by an injury. So American troops, ladies and gentlemen, are pretty well briefed on what happens to them while they're in combat. Some of us learn what to do and others just ignored it. Like kids in school will read certain things and they'll discard it and they'll throw it. I think it's a joke. And other of us took the book seriously and studied it and read it very carefully. Is what to do and what not to do. Remember in one particular incident, some of the people on aircraft and and bombing aircraft had what is known as chest packs, where you saw the parachute on the front, and when you went out, your parachute. There were others that had seat packs. I had a seat pack. And because you're wearing a heated suit and flying boots, you take your shoes off, your boots off, and tie them very tightly on your harness, on your parachute harness, so that if you do bail out in your flying boots, you'll have your shoes when you land, take those flying boots off, so you go. Well, a lot of guys thought, I'm not going to put my boots on. I'm not going to wear them. And try walking in flight boots for any length of time once you bailed out of an aircraft, or try swimming with flight boots on. So what I'm basically saying is John McCain and others in the Air Force, in the Navy, in the Army, we're instructed pretty well and taught pretty well what to do to survive. And knowing all that, and reading the history of John McCain, he doesn't come under the title of being a hero. A survivor, yes. He read the book very carefully on survival. He followed the psychological teachings in the book. He followed the cultural study of the book. And he probably memorized the book, as some guys did. I didn't have the ability to memorize the book, but I knew guys who could quote chapter and verse from the book on escape and evasion. So to the gentleman that thinks that John McCain is a hero, you may think he's a hero, and I have no problem with it. You think whatever you want to. But my opinion is that he's not a hero. We have a chat room here if you care to get on board. We'll answer some of your questions. We're broadcasting from irvhomer.com. Website is www.irvhomer.com. You may email me, as so many folks have done, at evilerv@irvhomer.com. And this is brought to you by RGH Computer Services. If you want to set up such a thing like this in your office, they'll be glad to do it. You can do your own show, or you can purchase time from RGH Computer Services and do your own program. You don't need me. You can come in and become a television star yourself. You can purchase the hour of time, come into the studio, just turn on the camera and the microphone, and the show is yours. Everybody wants to be a radio star and a television star. Well, here's your opportunity to do it. The rate is very reasonable, and it goes around the world. So all you've got to do is call 215-322-8685. Sell your products, sell your wares. If you have an opinion that you want a full hour of time, here's an opportunity for you to be a television star. That number for RGH Computer Services is 215-322-8685. My name is Irv Homer, and the ugly head in this election of who was pro-American and who was anti-American. And Sarah Palin, who was the vice presidential candidate on the Republican Party, made some statements the past week or so that are absolutely, in my opinion, stupid, absurd, and shows the ridiculousness and stupidness of the Republican Party and John McCain for selecting her as the vice presidential candidate of the United States. And I'll paraphrase the comments that she made. In the little towns where the people work hard, and it's so great to see, such pro-American crowds in the little towns of America. Which means that if you're from a big town in America, you're a nothing. And then had to come back on the air. But I didn't mean that. I meant this. Lady, you are stupid. You're a little yutz governor and mayor of a little state that don't mean a hill of beans. And you in the Republican Party, under no circumstance could you defend this woman's ignorance. Parading around with her baby with Down syndrome on a campaign. Lady, you should be arrested for child abuse. That baby belongs in the comfort of its crib with you as its mommy or he as his father, with a nanny, not on a campaign. There is flu viruses. There is every damn thing under the sun, right? And she's taking her baby to all of these crowds where the people are sneezing and belching and farting and everything else, and this Down syndrome. Let somebody else do that, and the same people that are applauding Sarah Palin would want them hung. Remember when Michael Jackson held the child over the balcony? How, they were going to crucify Michael Jackson? Is it permissible to take a baby with Down syndrome to thousands of people that have colds and flu and viruses and every other damn thing and parade the kid around like a showpiece? This is a mother? Not my opinion. And what did the Republican National Committee do to make this Cupid doll, this Betty Boop, look more presentable? By recorded figures, the Republican National Committee spent over $150,000 to dress this Cupid doll up to make her acceptable to Mr. and Mrs. America. $150,000 to dress one person up to make acceptable to Boobus America to vote for. And then discovered that when she was governor of the state of Alaska, had trips by her children in which they accompanied her but never were part and parcel of the political campaigning, and luxurious accommodations on the state plane and other accommodations, and the kids were never even there. Cooking the books to make it look as if private trips by her children were part of her political campaign. I think John McCain spent too much time in a POW camp, and I think the Republican Party should be ashamed. Not that the Democrats are without fault, ladies and gentlemen. Not that the Democrats are without fault. But this is a media election. The media created Barack Obama, and the media is creating Betty Boop, Cupid doll, Sarah Palin. Don't wave your kids in front of me. Isn't it amazing that Sarah Palin will take a child with Down syndrome, parade her in front of a camera, but we don't know where the two Bush girls are for 8 years? Where is Yetta and Beretta Bush? Why aren't they in Iraq? Bragging about the fact that John McCain's son, and he should brag about his son, and Sarah Palin should brag about her son being in Iraq. And John McCain's son will probably be going there. But where are the Bush girls? What are they doing for the war effort? You don't even read about them. Chelsea Clinton got more press in one day than the two Bush girls are getting for the 8 years that their daddy has been president of the United States. So Sarah, you parade your Down syndrome child throughout this flu-infested crowd, and the Bush girls will be behind the scenes, not knowing what they do. Let me answer some of the questions on our chat room, and then I'll get to more comments that I have that are really getting under my skin. Wes from Wilmington says, Irv, were you in the 12th Air Force in Italy? No, the 12th Air Force in Italy was medium bombers, Wes. They were B-24s, or B-25s rather, and B-26s. I was in the 15th Air Force in Italy, which were heavy bombers, B-17s and B-24s. Barb in Feasterville, what do you think will happen with the market, and if not so good, what can the average person do to prepare if the worst happens? I can only tell you what I do, Barb. I cannot give you any advice on what you're going to do because I don't know what your financial situation is. Everyone is saying, and it's true, that this won't affect you, and I've said it myself. This market will not affect you unless you're in it on a month-to-month, week-to-week living standard. If you have a long-term investment, it's not going to affect you until such time as you're going to retire or at which time you're going to live on that income for your retirement. So it's not going to affect, if you're still working now, that is if you're still working. My advice, is what I do, is to accumulate as much cash as you possibly can and keep it on hand. Safe someplace. Safes today for the home are very inexpensive, maybe $500, $1,000. You can get a safe that they bolt to the floor. They're crash-proof, fire-proof. You can't open them with them. They're really made. And just stash whatever you can in the bank, in your bank, until this crisis is over. I still maintain at this particular point cash is king, and short-term investment, if you're older, is much better than long-term investment. If you're in a short-term investment, if you're young and you're saving for the long term, you may as well just leave it there because it's got to go back up again. Eventually it's going to go up again. Or there'll be some dramatic change that it doesn't make any difference what you do. But the thing to do is to not panic. And the thing to do is to take a look and cut down your expenses as much as you can. Now, where the economy gets hurt is not so much what the stock market reflects, but the unemployment figure that is 750,000 people have been unemployed since January of this year. And when you have 1 million people additionally unemployed, that means there's no purchasing power for those people. That hurts the economy. So the market can go up. And it will go up if a company has 1,500 people that they lay off. Their stock will go up because their profit margin will go up. Since they've reduced their cost of operation by 1,500 employees, their operating expenses remain the same, their profit remains the same, their stock value is going to go up because they don't have those 1,500 people. So what affects the market going up is the amount of people that are unemployed. I got good news and bad news. The good news is the stock market went up. The bad news is 1,500 people had to lose their jobs for the company's stock to go up. But I still maintain, you walk in and you say, I got cash. I don't need credit. You're the boss. That's my personal opinion. Another question on our chat room. Dave from Delaware City. Irv, do you think McCain chose Palin because if he chose Lieberman, that would have made him look too far left? To tell you the truth, Dave, I don't know why McCain chose Sarah Palin, or whether he was under impression to get her, or whether it was some puppet. You must remember, Dave, let me go up here. The people that are selling us politicians are the same people that sold us the hula hoop, that sold us the pet rock, that sold us cars that blew up, that sold us refrigerators that don't work. The public relations people are hired to sell you a package. Sarah Palin gave the Republican Party a media boost that it needed desperately to combat the media boost that Barack Obama was getting. And they did get the boost. McCain got the boost because McCain is a bore. He may be a nice guy, he may not, but he's a bore. And the media dictates who's going to watch him and who's going to listen to him. That may have been one of the reasons. The second reason was they figured they were going to capitalize on the fact that Barack Obama picked Joe Biden instead of Hillary Clinton. Well, I hate to tell you, Sarah Palin and John McCain, Sarah Palin is no Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton has more brains in her little finger than you've got in your whole body. So I think the Republican Party now is recognizing that they made a very big mistake. My reason I think that John McCain and the Republican Party did not choose Lieberman, even though he is an independent, the public don't like snitches, and they don't like people that have no loyalty. They don't trust them. Joe Lieberman is a Democrat. Was a Democrat, probably will always be a Democrat. He was offended because the Democrat Party did not select him, and so he became an independent. The Republican naysayers probably said, you can't trust Lieberman because he's a Democrat and he's Jewish. And if the hammers of hell came down on Mitt Romney for being a Mormon and for Barack Obama for allegedly being accused of being a Muslim, I don't think the Republican Party would be willing to defend Joe Lieberman's Orthodox Judaism. I think that Sarah Palin was the kiss of death to the Republican Party. The media made her, and the media can destroy her. As one of the media people said to me this week, and I said, no, the media made her, but she's destroying herself. We have room on the chat room for your questions. I'll be more than glad to answer them. The congresswoman, whose name I will not mention, from Minnesota, who has turned the clock back about 50 years to who is pro-American and who is anti-American. And I think Sarah Palin said it in her speech when she said she's pleased to be with a pro-American little town. And apparently this congresswoman in Minnesota never studied the history of America when you had to take an oath of allegiance to America. Because we had in America, ladies and gentlemen, some of you may remember, some of you may be aware of it for the first time, that we had in the House of Representatives the House Un-American Activities Committee, headed by Estes Kefauver, I believe. It was a senator. And they determined what an American was and what an American wasn't. Who was an American? They paraded everybody that they even suspected of being to the left before that House Un-American Activity Committee. And the ilks of Pat Buchanan and the ilk of Laura Ingraham and Ann Coulter, who applauded one of the biggest drunks in the United States Senate, who stood before the House and he said, in my hand here I have a list of 26 communists in the American government. And he wanted every one of them investigated for being, quote, un-American. Joe McCarthy was the biggest drunk that the United States Congress ever saw, one of the biggest liars. And guess what? It wasn't even illegal to be a communist in America. It still isn't. I think when Colin Powell said that he supported on Meet the Press this Sunday, a statement that did not endear him too much with too many people, when he said, and I'll paraphrase it, although Barack Obama may be accused of being a Muslim when he's not, he's a Christian. And Colin Powell said, and suppose he was a Muslim, so what? I did not hear the big mouth Mike Gallagher, I didn't hear Medved, I didn't hear Hannity, I didn't hear Limbaugh ever criticize Colin Powell, because there is no one. Suppose he is it illegal? Is it un-American, according to this congresswoman from Minnesota, to be a Muslim? No, it's not. Is it un-American to be a socialist in America? No, it's not. Is it un-American to be a communist in America? No, it's not. You may not agree with it. I may not agree with it. But it's not un-American. And it's not anti-American. Proposals are made in America with a system of checks and balances for the public to buy the best idea there is that the politician can advance as long as it is within the bounds of the Constitution of the United States. And what you see now, and I won't blame the Republican National Committee any more than I will blame the Democrat National Committee, but what you see on the fringes are these screwballs like Ann Coulter, like Laura Ingraham, like Pat Buchanan, who want to suddenly define what is a pro-American. If I challenge the Internal Revenue Service to my taxes, and I demand a review, because that's the so-called law, which is unconstitutional, does that make me un-American? Does it make me un-American if I get a speeding ticket on Street Road? Does it make me un-American if I want my grass to be a foot long instead of 3 inches like the township wants? Who in the hell are you, left or right, Democrat or Republican, to tell me or my neighbors or anyone what the hell makes you pro-American as to what makes you anti-American? This idiot never read the Constitution of the United States or the Declaration of Independence that actually says when a government becomes so oppressive, you have the right, you have the duty to overthrow that government. I didn't put that in there, stupid moron congresswoman, or stupid right wing or left wing, with just cause. You can do it. Not frivolously, any more than you can impeach a president for frivolous means. Where in the hell did we get these people from that represent us in Washington or some of the state legislators? For idiots like Sarah Palin, and I say it with all reservation because I know some idiots that are really nice people, when asked by a 3-year-old, or a 3rd grade student, excuse me, what does the vice president do? And this idiot said, I'm the president of the Senate, and I can set policy and introduce bills. And where in the hell did she land from, this moron? Are you Republicans not embarrassed? You are the constitutionalists of America's conscience, and yet you have this moron representing you as the vice presidential candidate, a heartbeat away from the president? I don't know whether or not you Republicans or Democrats value the Constitution of the United States, or how many of you people value the Constitution of the United States. But since I'm an agnostic living in what is supposed to be a Judeo-Christian country, and let me also clear this business up. When did it become a Judeo-Christian country all of a sudden? I grew up when it was known as a Christian country, period. I sang in the public school system, onward Christian soldier, marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. I, as a Jew, had to sing that in your public schools. But them damn liberals, you know them damn liberals, you can't sing that in school anymore because we're now a Judeo-Christian country. And I predict that in 50 years from now, we will be a Judeo-Muslim Christian country. How come if we are a Christian country and a religion, we don't have religious banners as our boys go marching victoriously into Afghanistan and Iraq? Where is the patriotism of the music of today? Without some wacko cowboy, huh? Needs a shave and a bath, playing the guitar. Where is the patriotic music of the right-wing musicians? Where is the inspiration to win and have victory in Afghanistan and Iraq? Where were our victory songs in Korea and our victory songs in Vietnam? The hypocrisy and the stupidity of the masses of American people today who profess to be conservatives and the anarchistic ignorance of the liberal left is going to tear this country apart because those who have moderate and common sense like myself are not heard. A house divided among itself is going to fall. And if the left doesn't get his damn brains together, and if the right doesn't get his brains together and read and interpret the Constitution as it is written, and don't tell me that isn't what it means, we're doomed to world destruction. We've had the most divided president in 8 years in Washington, D.C., with a cadre of a Dick Morris under the Clinton administration on the left, a Pat Buchanan on the right, a Newt Gingrich on the right, a Trent Lott on the right, all relieved of their powerful offices because of their damn stupidity and ignorance and their un-American activities that made them lose their Speaker of the House jobs. That's un-American, lady, when you violate the trust of the American voter. There's enough so-called anti-Americanism on both the conservative and the liberal side in America. And who the hell are you to dictate who and what is un-American? Were the founding fathers who fought a Revolutionary War anti-British? Or were they looking for freedom, looking for the lack of oppression? I remember, and I still am castigated, when I said that the people who conducted the Boston Tea Party were cowards. You read about the Boston Tea Party in school. I'm sure you did. If they were brave Americans, if they were pro-Americans, they wouldn't have dressed up like Indians, thinking it was Halloween, and make them think it was the Indians that threw the tea into Boston Harbor. If we're going to live a lie, ladies and gentlemen, and not take the positiveness of what made this country great and indoctrinate it with false doctrine, religious doctrine that has no right in a secular government made up of all the people with diversity of thought, ideas, and opinions, then we deserve to lose America. So you figure out what's pro-American. Was it anti-American to prevent more than 55,000 troops to be killed in Vietnam on a false premise? I speak around the area. No one knows the history of how the hell we got into Vietnam. Nobody remembers Tom Dooley. Nobody remembers Cardinal Spellman in New York, who said that if the communists come down from the north, every Catholic in South Vietnam will be murdered. And who did they murder? The Buddhists. But you know you know what socialism is. I mean, we're going to a socialist country, boy. We are going. Name me one country, you morons in the press or in Congress, You Limbaughs, you Hannitys, you Medveds, you Gallaghers, you fake phony frauds. You don't have the faintest idea what the hell socialism is. And show me one country in America that is socialist. I asked a very big lawyer in the city of Philadelphia who uses the word, well, that's socialist. I said, did you ever hear of Norman Thomas? No, I didn't. Well, then what the hell do you know about socialism? Norman Thomas ran as President of the United States against Franklin Roosevelt on the Socialist Labor Party ticket. There were two socialisms in America, the Socialist Labor Party and the Socialist Workers' Party. The Socialist Workers' Party were the revolutionaries, and the Socialist Labor Party, ladies and gentlemen, were on the ballot. You're being led by the Sarah Palins. You're being led by the fake phony liberals on the left. You're being led by the damn nose, by the talk radio ignoramuses, because you're too damn lazy to look and think for yourselves. John from Clementon. Irv, wonder aside from the obvious causes, do the Bilderbergers have any influence with either of our financial problems or this election? The worldwide, John, the worldwide wealth in the world does not suffer from this recession. As we got more and closer, and I mentioned this 100 times, as we get closer and closer in the mouse maze, wealth and power will be merging throughout the world. Cousins marrying cousins, brothers marrying sisters, an interlocking of the wealth of the world controlled by a group that is getting smaller and smaller of people throughout the world. It is historically factual. You never hear of multimillionaires who have wealth. Not money, wealth. And I think I've explained in my broadcast career many, many times the difference between wealth and money. Wealthy people do not suffer from wars. People with money may. Poor people fight wealthy people's wars. Poor people do not fight rich people's wars. Poor people fight wealthy people's wars. The Bilderbergers, the House of Nome, the entire Bank of England, the Habsburgs, the Kuhn-Loebs, the Rothschilds, diversified in religion, diversified in culture, diversified in lifestyles, commingled with one idea, and it's raised to your nose every time you see The Godfather. It should sink in by now that these people can have the most diverse ideas in religion, in culture, in lifestyle, but the one thing will never divide them, and that is the power to control the mass of people on planet Earth. That will never divide them. They will intermarry. They will have diversified opinions with the Vatican. They will have diversified opinions with the nation of Israel. They'll diversify with the Orthodox or Roman and the Greek Orthodox, but they will not compromise that business is business, and business comes first, and it's nothing personal, and it works. Only we, the peasants on planet Earth, diversify and fight among ourselves. Do you think it is by accident that after World War I, the various veterans organizations sprung up? The Jewish war veterans and the Irish war veterans and the Polish war veterans and these war veterans. That was done by governmental decree in an executive order, because the more diversification of veterans after World War I, the less threat a unified veterans organization made up of all veterans would have political influence, financial influence, and legislative influence in the government. So they said, we better break up these veterans. We'll have the Irish veterans, we'll have the Polish veterans, we'll have the Jewish veterans, we'll have the sober veterans, we'll have the drunk veterans. And so you got all these diversified groups all fighting for a piece of the economic pie so they can put political pressure on Washington, D.C. Bob from Memphis, is this not the same old ploy the business cartels pull all the time, but have accelerated their position in creating a two-tier society? This situation is going on right now, Bob. I had mentioned on Inside Story. What happened in America happened around the world. I may not answer your question to your satisfaction, but I'll explain it to you. When you create fiat money, letters of credit, which is not money, where there is nothing backing it, eventually that house of financial cards is going to crumble. Because you can only print so much counterfeit money without having any redeeming value to it. And what these boys did with multinational corporations and multinational investment was created fake money. We got away with it from 1913 until today. We don't have money. Where are they getting $760 billion to bail out this financial? They print it. They've been printing money since 1913 that has no redeeming value to it. And when the rest of the world said, look how America can evolve financially, militarily, on fake money, we'll try the same thing. And so the rest of the world followed us. Well, now it's crunch time. There ain't nothing behind the money. The productivity of a country does not match the currency that's out there. The material manufacturing doesn't match that. The income of the consumers around the world can't buy the products that they manufacture. I remember doing a program, I said, I wouldn't work for General Motors on a salary that doesn't give me the financial opportunity to buy the best car that they manufacture. I'm working in a factory, right, making Cadillacs, and I can't afford to buy a Cadillac, I gotta buy a Chevy? Does that make sense? That, ladies and gentlemen, escalated to a point where the guy that now works making Cadillacs is lucky if he can afford one of those little pregnant roller skates they call a car today. All done by design because of the ignorance of the masses. I've got much more to say, ladies and gentlemen.
Valerie.
And I will get into after I received a note here. I responded to half of the letter on my position on taxes in America. Statement I made that 40% of the people don't pay federal income tax. And I say that 40% of the rich people, if they had any sense, wouldn't pay income tax. I'll save that for another time. Let me remind you that this Friday we're going to have a little diversity on the Irv Homer Show. We're going to have Valerie Morrison, world famous psychic, dear friend for some 30 years on the program. So you can email your questions to evilerv@irvhomer.com and we will answer your questions as they come in. Once again, any questions you can email me for Valerie this Friday night. Today is Wednesday. This Friday night we'll answer your email. Valerie will answer them. Just email me your questions at evilerv@irvhomer.com. Once again, we're broadcasting from irvhomer.com. My website is www.irvhomer.com. You can email me once again at evilerv@irvhomer.com. And once again, if you want to be a television star, as I am, radio star, just contact RGH Computer Services for all your computer needs. They can handle the time at your convenience, whatever time you want to avail yourself of our studios. You're more than welcome to do it. You have a program, you have a charitable organization, you have a foundation, and you want to have your own radio or television program, just contact Ron at 215-322-8685. It'll give you your 15 minutes of fame behind a television camera. And who knows, you may end up being another, what the heck's that guy's name? Oh, Schwartz? No, it's O'Reilly. I'm Irv Homer. Until the next time.